It's a great day, sports world. What's up to all the sports lovers, haters, addicts, and fanatics out there? This is Larry Patterson coming to you for GT365. That's Game Time 365 Sports live here on the GTSN. That's the Game Time Sports Network. And today we're talking 32 teams in 32 days, the Las Vegas Raiders edition. This team started out 6-3 last year. They ended in on the 7 games, they ended at 2-5, which gave them an 8-8 record on the season. To start 6-3, and then you only win in 2 games in your final 7 games. It says a lot, especially about the defensive side of the ball. Offensive side of the ball, this team is pretty dynamic. With definitely with the weapons that they had, they were like top 5. I want to say top 5 or top 10 in scoring offense. So this team definitely has the knack to score. They definitely have the athletic ability and the quarterback. Derek Carr, one of the more consistent quarterbacks in this league since he came in. I think he only missed 1 game in 2016 and 2017. Other than that, my man has been in there every season, every game, consistently. And to me, I think he's a top 10 quarterback in this league. He just needs a defense to help him out. At one point, they were starting to get somewhere with an edge rusher in Khalil Mack. They traded him away and never got to nail on those draft picks that they got from him. So with that being said, I still think that that defense could use a lot of help. The defense could be it could be much better this year, considering that you bring in Gus Bradley, defensive coordinator. You get Rob Marinelli, and there's another guy. You get him out of there. You bring Gus Bradley in. Gus Bradley helped orchestrated that Legion of Boom defense, the secondary over there in Seattle a few years ago. And he was the defensive coordinator for the Chargers in 2018. So I don't think they were quite in LA yet, but I think they were still in San Diego at the time. The year that they went to the playoffs, and I think they played Tom Brady in the second round. I think they beat Lamar Jackson in the first round. I think that was that team. But I know Derwin James was playing that year, and they were ranked like, I want to say they had the 6th best. They had the 6th best defense, I want to say, under Gus Bradley. And I want to say it was top 10 as far as like scoring defense. Like they didn't allow a lot of points. I want to say it was like 17 points a game that they gave up. And they were like ranked top 10. So you bring Gus Bradley. Not all of his teams were pretty good. He did go over to the Jaguars. I think that was when he left. It was the season before they had went to the AFC Championship game, or a couple years before. But yeah, you bring Gus Bradley over. Hopefully the defense can be a lot better. You have playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see. But focusing on the key additions and key departures on this team, key departures, you had Devontae Booker leave. He was a backup. Nelson Aguilar led the team in receiving yards last year. He's gone. Jeff Heath came over for a season. He's gone. Gabe Jackson was traded. Eric Harris, he's gone. LaMarcus Joyner, he's gone. Malik Collins, Rodney Hudson, I believe, was also involved in the trade. And Trent Brown, who I believe was traded back or maybe picked up on the free agent wire. I want to say he was traded, though. So you got a whole new regime on your offensive line. You get Gabe Jackson out there. You get Trent Brown out there. You get Rodney Hudson out there. When that happened, I was like, man, what are these guys doing? But they're retooling, and hopefully that whole situation can work out the way that John Gruden can wants it to work. A lot of questionable moves since he's been over there with the Khalil Mack situation. You never got the defense back to where it should be. Considering with where the offense is, and you kind of want to match the offense up with defense, but the defense has always been poor, especially on the back end. No consistent pass rush. Key additions on this team: you bring in Kenyon Drake, Willie Snead, Nick Martin, Jermaine Illuminor, Yannick Ngakwe, Solomon Thomas. He comes over. Denzel Perriman, Casey Hayward Jr., and Gerald McCoy, just to name a few of the additions. On offense, in the past game, this team was ranked 7th, and they put up 4,217 yards. That put them at 7th. On the run, they were ranked 14th, putting up 1,916 yards. On third downs, this team was ranked 6th. On fourth downs, this team was ranked 3rd. And in the red zone, they were ranked 23rd. So with that being said, we're going to go straight into the Raiders offense with my man Derek Carr, man. 3 straight 4,000-yard seasons. 2018, he threw for 4,049 yards, 19 touchdowns. In 2019, he had 4,054, 21 touchdowns. In 2020, which was arguably his best season of his career, 4,103 yards, 27 touchdowns. He had a 67 completion percentage, 26,896 career yards being thrown as we speak, and 170 touchdowns with 71 interceptions. He is one of the more consistent quarterbacks. Like I said, he did, and he carried his team. He carried his team to a playoff berth. I want to say it was 2016, and that was for the first time since I want to say like 2002. Was this? I think since the last time they won since the last time they went to the Super Bowl, which was around 2002, 2003, around that time. Hadn't been to the playoffs since. So, they returned. Derek Carr leads them there. Like I said, one of the more consistent quarterbacks in this league, and he definitely earns my respect, even though he's a division rival. But, yeah, you get him going into his 8th season. Marcus Mariota, who he was a former number 2 overall pick by the Tennessee Titans. He came over to the Raiders last year, and in the one game alone, he was 17-28, 226 yards, with 1 touchdown. So he steps into year number 7, and is a good quality backup just in case Derek Carr gets injured or whatever have you. Behind him, you got Nathan Peterman going into year number 5. For those who know about Nathan Peterman, it's really nothing special, but he's learning the offense while he's there, and that's a big boost right there. Just in case if he ever has to go in, hey, he knows the playbook. Not saying that he's gonna execute or anything like that, but at least one foot's in the door where he knows about the offense and there have you. Running back wise, you got Josh Jacobs, Mr. Jacobs. In 2019, he played 13 of 13 games, 242 carries, 1,150 yards, 7 touchdowns. He was targeted 27 times, 20 catches, 166 yards. In 2020, he played 15 games, 273 carries, 1,065 yards, so he just crossed over to 1,000, 12 touchdowns. He also had 45 targets, 33 catches, 238 yards. In 2019, he had 4.8 yards per carry. In 2020, he had 3.9. So that kind of dipped a little bit. Most people would like to blame the pandemic and all that other stuff, but hey, fans are back now. Pandemic is still going on. But we'll see how Mr. Jacobs does. One of my favorite running backs in this league. He, to me, in my top 10, he is a top 10 running back. Just because with his consistency and his hard running, the way he hits the hole, I definitely like Josh Jacobs. Behind him, you got Kenyon Drake, who played 15 games last year. He started 13. He averaged 4.0 yards per carry, 239 carries for 955 yards with the Arizona Cardinals. Before that, it was, 300 yards here, 400, 600 yards here. But they had a trade for him. The Arizona traded for him, I want to say the year before last. And I remember the following week after the trade, they played San Francisco, and Kenyon Drake kind of went wild. And I wasn't even expecting him to go wild, but he went wild, and that led to them kind of keeping him over, but they didn't re-sign him back. He had 10 touchdowns also. So that when Jacobs is out, now you got Kenyon Drake coming in, who's also a hard runner. This, I'm going to dub this already, is probably going to be one of the better rushing attacks in this league with a Josh Jacobs. Then you have a Kenyon Drake. That's a nice little duo right there, and I like it. Behind them, you got Jalen Richard, who is on injury reserve right now. Peyton Barber, who they bought in, going to year number 6, a good third down back. And then you got Trey Rogers, who's a rookie. That's your running back room, wide receiver room. Brian Edwards going into year number 2, played 12 games last year. He started 3, targeted 15 times, 11 catches, 193 yards, 1 touchdown. So a little sample size there. Zay Jones, who's been in the league for 5 years, had 20 targets, 14 catches, 154 yards, and 1 touchdown last year. One of his best seasons that he had, I want to say it was when he was with the Bills. I want to say he had 102 targets, 56 catches, 652 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I can swear he was with the Bills that year. After that, you got Henry Ruggs, who had a pretty up and down rookie year. 13 games played. He started 12. 43 targets, 26 catches, 452 yards, 2 touchdowns. Little sample size, but I think with Nelson Aguilar leaving, now he gets to come on and play a bigger role, maybe get more targets. He's not so much of the go route guy all the time. Now you can get more routes out of him. You can get more things out of Henry Rugg now. Willie Snead coming over in 2015. Willie Snead, 984 yards. In 2016, he had 895 yards. I don't think you're going to get back to that Willie Snead, simply because of, like, with injuries and over time he's been in the league. This is going to year number 7. So you kind of tend to slow down a little bit. And with the other weapons that you have on the team, he's not going to get that, kind of production out of him. But last year, Baltimore, in Baltimore, he played 13 games. He started 8. He had 48 targets, 33 catches, 432 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So that's right around the production that you're going to get out of Willie Snead. You also got Dylan Stoner, who's a rookie, and DJ Turner, who's a rookie. And Hunter Renfrow, 2019, he had 71 targets, 49 catches, 605 yards, and 4 touchdowns. In 2020, he had 77 targets, 56 catches, 656 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But he also does it in the punt return game too. And he had 23 returns for 265 yards. So I don't know if he's going to be the primary punt returner or the kick returner, maybe the punt returner. But you got a weapon in that also. So not only do you have offensive firepower, but you got speed on the special teams, and that's just as important. Tight ends, Nick Bowers, Matt Busham, who's a rookie. You got Derek Carrier, and he had a 90 receiving grade according to PFF, 67 pass block grade, 64 run block grade. Foster Moreau, who had a 73 receiver grade, and he had he had 7 catches for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he played 16 games. He started 2. So Yeah. And then you got Darren Waller going into year number 5. And Darren Waller kind of scared me going into, I want to say it was not year, it was the year before last year, and we played him on a Monday night. And I'm like, man, who's this guy? But he been in the league for a minute, and he had some kind of like, mental health situation going on. And so they fixed that, and he came out and he was balling. Balling to the point where he's like one of the best tight ends in the league now. Much respect to him. In 2019, he had 117 targets, 90 catches, 1,145 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And in 2020, he had 145 targets, 107 catches, 1,196 yards, and 9 touchdowns. This is going to be prone to be a big year, another big year for Darren Waller in that offense. So take a look out for that. As far as the offensive line, we spoke about, they traded, I want to say three offensive linemen, so they kind of retooled some things over there. You got Andre James going into year number 3. Nick Martin, who you got over from Houston, he was ranked 29th out of 36 centers, so that's not necessarily good. But you put him in a new system, and a new system that is heavily relied on offensive side of the ball. And you see how he does. He had a 74 pass block grade, but he had a 47 run block grade last year. So we'll see how Nick Martin does. Jimmy Morrissey is a rookie. Lester Cotton, senior. Jermaine Illuminor going into year number 5. He was ranked 47 out of 79 guards. Denzel Good, who had a 51 pass block grade and a 57 run block grade. Richie Incognito, with the sample size that you had out of him from last year, he had an 82 pass block grade and an 82 run block grade. Jeremiah Potasi going to year number 3. John Simpson, Devery Hamilton, who's a rookie. Alex Leatherwood is another rookie that on the offensive line that I'm going to be looking at. Colton Miller, 81 pass block grade, 55 run block. Brandon Parker going into year number 4. And then Kamal Seymour going into year number 2. That is your offense. Now with the defensive side of the ball, that's where it gets a little crazy. Defensively, this team was ranked in the past. This team was ranked 26th, and they gave up 4,212 yards. In the run, they were ranked 24th, and they gave up 2013. In third downs, they were ranked 30th. On fourth downs, they were ranked 32nd. And in the red zone, they were ranked 16th. So not all bad numbers, but it's not good at all. And it hasn't been good for a long time. So with that being said, we're just going to go right on into this defense. You got Max Crosby going into year number 3 now. I like Max Crosby. He led the Raiders in sacks for the last 2 years. He had 10 in 2019. He had 7 last year. So big ups to Max Crosby. He's definitely one of the players that I'm watching this year. On the other side of the ball, you got Yannick Ngakoue, and he was traded a couple times last year. But in his journey in the NFL in 2016, he had 8 sacks. He had in 2017 he had 12. In 2018 he had 9.5. In 2019 and 2020 he had 8, and that's with the trade to Minnesota, and with that situation and how Danielle Hunter just didn't play, and that was supposed to be a nice little duo with Yannick and then Danielle Hunter. That didn't work out because Danielle Hunter was pretty much out for the whole season. So now you bring him over to Baltimore, and that situation didn't really work out either. So now the Raiders signed him. And I believe they got him on a 1-year deal. So with the addition of Max Crosby, with Max Crosby already on the roster, and then with the addition of Yannick Ngakoue, I think that's going to be a nice little pass rushing duo. something to keep your eyes on. You also got Cleveland Farrell, who had 27 tackles in 2020. He played 11 games. He had 21 pressures. 2019, he had 38 tackles. So he's going to be looking to have a bigger year. He's going into year number 3, and then, year number 4. That's basically your contract year. So he's looking to really outperform, both 2019 and 2020, just so he can get that contract, man. You got Jerry Green, Malcolm Kuntz, who's a rookie, Carl Nassib, who had 2.5 sacks last year and 25 tackles. Yannick Ngakoue, as we just spoke about, he played 15 games last year and he started 8. Going into year number 6, Kendall Vickers going into year number 2, Gerald McCoy coming over, and this is year number 12 for him. Remember, last year he was signed to the Cowboys squad, and he got hurt. I want to say it was preseason or training camp, but he didn't get a chance to play. So now we'll see how that defensive line will show up. I think the defensive line. I'm not saying that the defensive line will be a pretty stout unit, but it would be much improved. Maybe middle of the pack. Once the games start going on and teams start working well together. Jonathan Hankins going into year number 9. Quentin Jefferson, who had 3.5 sacks in Buffalo last year. Darius Philon going into year number 5. Now Scott going to year number 3. And then you bring Solomon Thomas over, who played 2 games last year. So he'll look to get back to the form. I think that's a nice little defensive line on paper. I think they'll do pretty good. Linebacker spot, you got Javin White, who's on injury reserve right now with a knee. You got Max Richardson, who's a rookie. Tanner Muse going to year number 2. Nicholas Morrow, who's also injured right now. He had a career high 78 tackles last year. Corey Littleton in 2018, he had 125 tackles. In 2019, he had 134 tackles. And in 2020, he had 82. So that's a nice little Corey Littleton is a nice solid player anyway that you want on your defense anyway. Denzel Perriman, who had 48 tackles last year, he played 13 games. He started 6. Nick Kwiatkowski, who was a former Chicago Bear, he had a career high 81 tackles last year. He steps into year number 6. Divine Diablo, who's a rookie. I think he could play linebacker. He could play safety as well. Out of Virginia Tech, KJ Wright, who had 500-plus tackles, 500-plus tackles seasons in his career. He had 86 in 2020. He had 11 pass deflects in 2019, and he had 10 pass deflects in 2020. So, and then he just got signed last week. So that's a nice major addition to him. He played pretty solid last year in Seattle. So the Raiders, I think they got them a nice linebacking core right there. Cornerbacks, this is one of the concerning groups last year, and I think they're going to be a little bit better this year. They got Damon Arnett, who played 9 games. He started 7 last year out of Ohio State, 25 tackles. He missed 13 tackles though. Got to count on those. Jordan Brown going into year number 2. Mondre Harper also going into year number 2. So a young unit, but you bring in some veteran leadership in Casey Hayward, who was played 14 games last year. He started 13. Nate Hobbs, who's a rookie. Robert Jackson going into year number 3. Nevin Lawson going into year number 8, but he's suspended for the first 2 games due to the PEDs. Keyshawn Nixon, who's on injury reserve with a leg. Amik Robertson played 8 games. He only had 4 tackles in a little sample size. I think he was injured most of last season. I'm also looking for Amik Robertson to kind of get in there and play a little better this year also. And then Trayvon Mullen going into year number 3. He had 10 pass deflects in 2019. He had 14 in 2020. He had 50 tackles in 2019. He also, it might not seem like it because the Raiders secondary was just so horrendous and whatnot, but him as an individual, he's pretty solid. Not saying he wins all his matchups because he doesn't, but year 3, I think he's going to be a little bit better. He had 68 targets. He was targeted 68 times in 2019. He had 38 completions against him with a 55 completion percentage, and then he had three interceptions in 2 years. This is year number 3. So he had 14 pass deflects in 2020. He had 64 tackles. He was targeted 87 times last year, completed against 54 times with a 62 completion percentage. So that's still not bad. And but the downside to it, he missed 10 tackles last year. So he'll get better. He'll definitely get better with that. I think Oakland got them Las Vegas got them a nice little corner in him. They just need somebody to compliment him on the other side. And in the back end, speaking of the back end, Tyree Gillespie, who was a rookie, Dallin Levitt, who's a third-year player, Roderick Teamer going to year number 2. You got Trayvon Moore, 7 interceptions in 3 years. Over there at TCU. And then you got Jonathan Abram, who was one of my favorite up-and-coming safeties. He played 13 games last year. The year before that, he played 1 game. That was it was a Monday night game against Denver. It was a late game. And he got injured. So he didn't get his whole season was injured, was done on that one night. He played 13 games in 2020. He had 2 interceptions, 6 pass deflects. He blitzed 47 times. So he had 86 tackles. So I think with Jonathan Abram, he's definitely going to be one of those safeties that, as a Denver Bronco fan, not going to get tired of. But seeing him against other teams, I'm going to be real excited for him to play. And real excited to watch him play. I think after this year, if he's healthy this year, going into next year, if he has a very stellar year this year, probably going to be a top 10 safety in this league. Box safety anyway. I love the way he gets after it. He missed a few tackles too. I think he missed 10 tackles or so. It was double digits. So no, 13. He missed 13 tackles last year. So I know he'll get better. You don't draft talent like that and then they just do not get better. He's going to get better and just be more of a net for division rivals and opposing teams. As far as special teams, you got Daniel Carlson going to year number 4. Now inside the 20s, he was 18 of 18. Inside the 30s, he was 8 of 8. Inside the 40s, he was 3 for 5. Inside the 50s, he was 4 for 4. So all in all, inside the 50s and 50 plus, he was 4 for 4. So all in all, he was 33 or 35 for 94%. That's pretty damn good. And then he was 95% out of extra points, so 45 out of 47. So got a pretty damn good kicker right there. As far as the first 5 games of the season, they play the Ravens on a Monday night. That's a tough game. That's at home though, so they get a little home field advantage, and plus the fans are coming back now. At the Steelers in week 2, week 3 they play the Dolphins, and remember last year they had a crazy game with the Dolphins. So they'll be looking for payback in that one. And then they're at the Chargers. At the Chargers in week 4, that's the division matchup, and then they play the Bears in week 5. So going over that again, they play the Ravens on Monday night. They're at the Steelers in week 2. They play the Dolphins in week 3. They play the Chargers at the Chargers in week 4, and then they play the Bears in week 5, which is one of the pretty tough schedules. One of the pretty tough schedules for any team in this league this year, as far as 5 games. But all in all, I think that this team is very, very, very talented. I think that they can definitely go the distance. They could have been going the distance if they had them a consistent defense, a pretty stout defense. But I wouldn't count this team out. I definitely wouldn't sleep on them. Will they be effective this year? Will they be any good this year? I think they will. Especially with a quarterback like Derek Carr at the helm. Um, and as long as Gus Bradley has those boys playing, they don't have to be a solid defense. They don't have to be a stout defense. They don't have to be a shutdown defense. They don't have to be a early 2000s Baltimore Ravens defense, but they will be pretty effective. You know, getting real good on stops and turnovers and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to see what this team can do this year. But as long as they have a defense, I think that they'll be right in the thick of things, competing with. They're one of the teams that beat Kansas City in like the last 3 years since Patrick Mahomes been in the league. So I remember they beat them. I want to say it was like 30. It was a big number game, but they beat Kansas City last year, and I think they were en route to beating them again last year. So definitely look out for the Raiders this year. They're definitely not a team to sleep on, and if that defense is any good, look for them to be real perennial contenders in this league. This is Larry Patterson coming to you for GT365. That's Game Time 365 Sports live here on the GTSN. That's the Game Time Sports Network. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, it's Game Time Sports Network. Go ahead and hit that sub button. And Facebook as well. Go ahead and like that page, Game Time Sports Network. Until